Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Pop's Reviews, and I was wanting to do a review on a few books that I've gotten over time, and I've just gotten one recently a few months ago that I've finished read, and this is the Marvel Masterworks Marvel Team Ups. So I've got all three volumes, one, two, three. So this is the first volume here, and so as you can see, I have the gray cover. They come in different various covers, the Marvel team ups, but I had gotten the gray ones because that's what I gotten with some of my other books. And yeah, I enjoyed them very much because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and so this was a book that if you like back in the I guess in the 60s or 70s, you just saw Spider-Man, and for him to actually cross over with some of the other characters, this is they made this special series called Marvel Team Up. So they had Spider-Man teaming up. They had the Human Torch. He does team ups with other people too, as well, every now and then in the books. And as well, I think maybe I'm thinking the Thing maybe, but I think it was just pretty much Spider-Man and Human Torch that were the usually the main storylines. Primarily Spider-Man, and then I guess of course DC did their own series that went against this, which was I believe The Brave and the Bold with Batman, where they had Batman teaming up with other characters from the DC universe. But anyways, yeah, these stories I love this time era here. I love the artwork, the old school artwork. I love the storylines. You know, they're just you know, this pretty much a basic kind of storyline. It wasn't like overly written like nowadays kind of thing. Like sometimes I'm just someone I like, a good storyline and right to the action kind of thing, and I like the old school stories for that. So anyways, so let's just take a look at the book here. We'll get to the other ones right away. So it's been a while since I read these stories in here, but from what I remember, I really enjoyed most of them. So this one here, this is the cover, the first Marvel. I think it's the first one, and so this has Marvel Team Up numbers 1 through 11, and it's by Jerry Conway, Ross Andrew, Gil Kane, and Jim Mooney. And this is the back here. So here you can see. Sorry for the glare. So you can see stories. Here's Spider-Man and the Human Torch against Morbius. Spider-Man and the X-Men come together. Spider-Man and Vision. Spider-Man and the Thing. Spider-Man and Thor. Spider-Man and Cat. Spider-Man Iron Man. Spider-Man Human Torch. And Spider-Man and the Inhumans. So very cool. So let me open it up here for you guys so you can kind of see the insides look like here. So I'll take the dust jacket off. Well, first I'll show you the inside dust jacket. So this gives you a reference of a little backstory for these guys here, and the other side gives you the different Marvel Masterworks that you could get. Okay, so now I'll take the dust jacket off so you can see what it's like without the dust jacket. Just give me a sec here. I'll do this with one hand. So this is the without the dust jacket, the Marvel Team Up. So it has the silver writing, and there's the spine. Marvel Team Up 1. And then nothing on the back. Some crumbs, I guess I gotta wipe that off. So yeah, and then here's the insides here, and then they give you the table of contents. There's a picture of Spider-Man and Iron Man together. That's pretty cool. A little introduction by Jerry Conway, and then yes, you get to the first one, Spider-Man and Human Torch. So if you read the comics, they were kind of like rival, Spider-Man and Human Torch, and then like obviously down the road I guess they respect each other, and they do team up, to take down the villains. And you see the artwork, the old school artwork here, and I just love these style of stories. Like as you can see, like there's a lot of text, a lot of writing to read. in the old school ones, but I just really love to look at them. I mean, I guess maybe that's what I kind of grew up reading, were these ones. So I'm not gonna go through all the stories here. I just, I want you to get an overview of like what it looks like. And did I have I don't know if from this one, do I have a favorite that stands offhand? Maybe the one with the Torch and Morbius and Spider-Man. That was probably a good one that stands out. A story that I really liked from here. I mean, all the stories are like really action-packed, especially in the first two volumes. I really enjoyed it. So I think this story here, I thought this was one of the better ones in here. But I really liked all of them. There wasn't in this one there wasn't really a bad one to really say. So very cool artwork. This is the old school stuff here, and I'm really a fan of the old school. I really like these ones here. I'm just kind of giving you guys just a basic, look at like what it looks like, and it's definitely, if I had to rate this out of 10, I'd probably give it 8 out of 10 because I really love the stories. I really like the presentation of it. The book holds together really nicely, and yeah, like. Spider-Man and the Vision teaming up, and it's cool to see Spider-Man, his character, teaming up with all these different other heroes and how they get along. So, and of course, Spider-Man's always a chatty one. So when he teams up with some of these other heroes, it's kind of funny how they kind of interact together. So yeah, very very good stories. Definitely would recommend if you're a Spider-Man fan. And yeah, so like I said, give it 8 out of 10. The stories are good, not boring. None of the stories are boring. I guess some would just appeal to you, whether you like a little more story or a little more action. So yeah, that's pretty much the volume 1. So you get the gist of what's in it, and very good read if you're a Spider-Man fan. Excuse me. Here's volume 2. Oh, I forgot to show you when was volume 1? When did volume 1 come out? In case you were interested in getting these, so volume 1 came out. So these stories were from like 1972, and this came out in 2010, I believe. First printing 2010. Yes, so you might still be able to get these on Amazon at maybe a decent price, but the older you get, the harder it is to collect them. But still, if you get your hands on one, very, very good. Okay, so here's volume 2. So here's Marvel Masterworks volume 2, and they got one of my favorites, Captain America, on the cover. I thought this is a really cool cover when I got this Marvel Masterworks. So this one is I think it is volume 13. And so that's the front cover, and then the back, the different stories. So they have Spider-Man and the Werewolf, Spider-Man and the Savage Submariner, Spider-Man and Ghost Rider, Spider-Man and Fantastic Four, Human Torch and the Hulk. There's a different team up. Spider-Man Kazar, Spider-Man and Black Panther, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, Spider-Man and Hawkeye. So very, very good one. And this has team up numbers 12 to 22, and then Daredevil number 103. And it's Len Wein and Gil Kane with Ross Andrew and Sal Buscema. Okay, so I'll open it up, and again, same format. A little write-up for the Marvel Masterworks. And then the other cover, the inside, it should be the same, where they give you the different Marvel Masterworks that are out currently at that time. So I'll take off the dust jacket, and usually these they kind of follow the same format with the covers and the case, the dust jacket and the book itself. So yeah, see, so Marvel team up, same silver writing, has a kind of I guess an embossed kind of feel, and then spine Marvel team up volume 2, and then. Make sure to look at the date for this one this time too. Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. Okay, just kidding. So Marvel team contains material originally published in a magazine from Marvel Team Up number 12 to 22, and Daredevil first printing 2012. So this is from 2012 when this came out, and then these came out in 1973, 74. So, for this one, from what I remember reading, so first off, you get there's a picture of Spider-Man and the werewolf, pretty cool. And then you get some write up by Roy Thomas, and so then the first story in the book, Spider-Man and the Werewolf. So I remember the story was pretty cool. I thought it was a good story, a lot of action. Spider-Man fighting the werewolf, good old J. Jonah, and Robbie Robertson there. So this was a lot of action from what I remember reading. Like I said, none of these Marvel team-ups were ever boring. They were really a lot of action, a lot of story, and then to see them team up with other characters was always very cool to see, what their interaction is. I mean, like in the nowadays, obviously we're spoiled because now you see, vendors have a full roster, X-Men and that, and then, they have these different storylines, and they're, seems like they always team up now, crossover. But back in this time, I'm sure these are very special to see Spider-Man teaming up with somebody else, because it just wasn't really happening, So here's the other one, this one is Daredevil and Black Widow. So with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is also in the storyline for this, so that's pretty cool. So Daredevil crossover featuring Spider-Man. So that's pretty cool. That's included in here. And I'm just kind of flipping through because it's cool. If you never read these before, you might really like these, because sometimes a lot of these ideas are taken into the movie concepts. But here is one of my favorite storylines in the book: Spider-Man and Cap, and then they're fighting the Grey Gargoyle in this one. So this was a very cool one. I really enjoyed this one. Good stories here. Good old Cap. One of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. Obviously Spider-Man, but I love Cap. I love Hulk. Love the X-Men. I love pretty much a lot of the Marvel Universe, but my favorites are like Spider-Man, Hulk, Cap. So there you see him fighting Submariner. And I guess always a good thing about Spider-Man, like Spider-Man is good enough to fight a lot of the different heroes and villains. He has good strength in that. Sometimes he is overmatched, but what he lacks in strength compared to another opponent, he does have a lot of sense. He's very smart, so he knows how to outwit his opponents all the time. So there's Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and then this was the old school Captain Marvel as a male. Now in the 2019 Captain Marvel they have as a female, but there's been all kinds of different iterations of Captain Marvel. So very good stories. I think a lot of these books, there's 12 to 22, so they have about 10 to 11 comics within a Marvel Masterworks, usually depending on if they have giant size or whatever the case is, but usually you get about like I said, 10 to 11, 12, maybe 12 stories at most. But very good. Here's action with Kazar, Spider-Man and Kazar. So yeah, very, very good artwork, very good illustrations. Like I said, you gotta be a fan of the old school stuff. Here's Spider-Man and Black Panther. So yeah, very, very good. There's Spider-Man and Hawkeye together. So very good stuff, these Marvel Masterworks. And I'll get to number 3 volume. This is the most recent. Let me just hang on a sec. So this is the most recent volume that came out just last year in 2018, maybe towards the fall of 2018. So this is Marvel Marvel Masterworks, Marvel Team Up Volume 3. And this is a giant size Spider-Man and Dracula. And they have this in here. So Marvel Team Up, numbers 20 to 30, and giant size Spider-Man, numbers 1 to 3. And Lan Wayne, Jerry Conway, Ross Andrew, and Jim Mooney. Let me look at the back, see what books are in here. Now this one took a little longer. What do we say? This Marvel Team Up came up in Volume 2 came out, was it 2012 we said? And this one came out 2018. And I think a reason for that, as we look at the back, the different stories in here, so they have Human Torch and Iceman teaming up, Spider-Man and Brother Voodoo. I liked this story. This one was a good one too. Spider-Man and Torch was actually not too bad because, you know, kind of like the hot and cold, fire and ice kind of thing. Spider-Man and Daredevil was a good one. And I think this was one of my favorites, Spider-Man and there's a giant-sized Spider-Man Master Kung Fu. Now, this I think the reason why this took so long from 2012 to 2018 was because of this here. Marvel didn't really have the rights for Shang-Chi, and the character, his father, who's Fu Manchu. I don't believe they had the rights for him. So they had just gotten the rights a few years ago, and then they were able to make Shang-Chi's he has 4 different omnibuses, I think. That's his whole collection. And so they had gotten the rights, and so then I guess once they got the rights, they were able to print off everything. And this story here is part of a giant-sized Spider-Man Marvel team up here. So the Human Torch and Thor. This one was all right from what I remember reading. Spider-Man and the Hulk. That was an all right one. The only one I would say I was disappointed with is Spider-Man and Doc Savage. So yeah, this one was all right. I wasn't really wouldn't be one of my first stories to read. The Human Torch and Iron Man, and then Spider-Man and Falcon. That was an all right one too. But I think the Spider-Man, Doc Savage, and this one here, the Spider-Man and Dracula, I wasn't really a fan of. Didn't really. The story was just all right, but it wasn't really anything that I thought was really good. So those 2 stories were a little disappointing from what I remember reading of it. So the inside cover, same Marvel Masterworks, the same intro, and obviously the back will be the same with the different Marvel Masterworks that have come out. So there's probably a little more at this time because this is one of the most recent entries, 2018. And let me take the dust jacket off for this one. Just give me one sec here. And this one-handed here with the camera. Okay, so as always, the same Marvel Team Up. The same, and then Volume 3. Okay, so same stuff, and then you open the book, and then this contains material originally published in a magazine from form as Marvel Team Up, number 23 to 30, and Giant Size Spider-Man, number 1 to 3. First printing 2018, and then obviously the stories are from the 70s. So this is the first printing, 2018. So it was about almost 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 6 years till they took them to do the third Marvel Team Up from the second one. So big picture of Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and the Marvel contents. So it's cool that they have these contents too that you could see. So yeah, Spider-Man, giant size Spider-Man, 1974, Marvel Team Up number 23, 1974. So you could see when the stories came out. So that's nice that they have that. It's a nice touch. And then the same format, they have Roy Thomas with his introduction. And this was as recent as 2017, this introduction that he wrote up. And the first story is the giant-sized Spider-Man and Dracula. So like I said, this story for me wasn't really what it seemed. You didn't really get you didn't really get the crossover with Spider-Man and Dracula. So this here, I'm gonna kind of spoil it for you because this wasn't really that good. So this is the only real meeting that you see between Dracula and Spider-Man, which is really Peter Parker on a boat, and that's it. They have their own kind of. Dracula has his own story kind of in it, and Spider-Man has his own story in it, which is, for me, it wasn't really a good story for me. I didn't really like it, but I mean, there's plenty of other stories in this book, and so the giant size team ups here were really good. Here's a nice picture of Spider-Man and Shang-Chi. So Shang-Chi, another one of my favorites from Marvel. There's Spider-Man, or sorry, not Spider-Man, Human Torch and Iceman. And this is Human Torch's story with Iceman. Spider-Man does make a little appearance in there, but it's mainly Human Torch, Iceman in this. And they have a little misunderstanding. And then obviously they go fight the villain in this. There's the villain. He's a fire and ice guy, so there's a misunderstanding, and they end up fighting with him. And there's another one, Spider-Man and Brother Voodoo. It's another good one. This was a good one. See these two kind of teaming up. So yeah, this was a really good story. And they had Spider-Man and Daredevil. You see Daredevil. Yeah, this was another good story team up of Spider-Man and Daredevil together, and Spider-Man and Shang-Chi. Another story of misunderstanding, and then you see Spider-Man and Shang-Chi fighting each other here. That was a good little fight with the two of them. So very good stories. I mean, there's Fu Manchu, that's Shang-Chi's father. So that's the reason Marvel didn't have the rights for the Fu Manchu and Shang-Chi stories, so they had to go through some stuff to get the rights, I guess, and they finally did. They were able to publish their books back in these Marvel Masterworks and omnibus forms, which is really, 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 really good for me because I really like the old stories. You know, if you try and collect these, you know, the old school comics, you know, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for them. At least it's nicely collected in nice size hardcover book, which I really like. It makes it more nice and neat. There's pictures of Thor teaming up with Human Torch. So yeah, very, very good stories. There's Hulk here. So all these books, like, I probably would rate them an 8 out of 10. They're my style of read and look and stories. Very, very much love the stories, and this just the way it's done. It's presented nicely. It's the color is nice. The pages are nice. Pages are numbered and everything, and yeah. So these hardcover books, it's a good way to go. I prefer now that they make the omnibuses. I prefer getting the omnibuses over to the Marvel Masterworks stuff, but they didn't make any team ups for the omnibuses yet, so I probably would have to continue collecting as a Marvel Masterwork if they had any more team ups. But I prefer the omnibus versions because at least you get about 30 something comics in one big huge hardcover book, which is to me more bang for its buck. It's a little more expensive, obviously. These are in the probably the 40s to 50s range, but and then the omnibuses are closer to the 100 because you're getting obviously more comics in a hardcover form. But to me, that's the way to collect them, though, if you're gonna get the comics. But anyways, yeah. So these books are very well done. There's some original art that they had. So very, very nicely done. Little added touch here. So yes, very good books. If you're interested in getting these Marvel team ups, this is the most recent one here. So this third one, so this one will probably be a little cheaper in the sense of collecting, as opposed to the other two. You might have a little more harder time getting them at their cover price, but you never know. If you do some searching, you probably could find stuff. Obviously Amazon is one place to start, or eBay, but then you might have to go a little deeper to find some of these if they're not still on print or in the shelves. But anyways, very good stories, and yeah. So thanks again for watching my video. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know. Let me know what you think of my videos. If I've been doing them well. Again, I'm just kind of just starting up and just wanted to give reviews of things I have, and hopefully it helps you out if you want to make a purchase of any of these things that you see. So again, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.